The helicopter carrying Princess Charlotte disappeared beyond the tree line, its rotors fading into the distance as Detective Inspector Morrison focused his complete attention on resolving the immediate security crisis at Highgrove House. Tom Parker Bowles stood beside his navy blue van, his expression shifting between confusion, embarrassment, and growing realization that he had been manipulated by unknown parties with sophisticated operational capabilities. Morrison's earpiece crackled with updates from the tactical team that had established perimeter positions around the property. Control to Morrison, we've identified multiple observation posts in the surrounding area. At least 4 separate teams have been conducting surveillance on this location. Professional equipment and coordination patterns. Morrison felt his jaw tighten as the scope of the operation became clearer. Multiple surveillance teams indicated either state-level intelligence operations or highly organized criminal enterprises with substantial resources and planning capabilities. Princess Charlotte had been the target of a coordinated effort involving electronic surveillance, social engineering, and manipulation of family relationships. Mr. Parker Bowles, Morrison said, his voice maintaining professional calm despite the explosive implications of what they had uncovered. I need you to walk me through every detail of how you were contacted and what instructions you received. The safety of the entire royal family may depend on understanding exactly how this operation was conducted. Tom Parker Bowles nodded grimly, his hands now at his sides as he fully grasped the seriousness of the situation. It started 3 days ago with a phone call from someone claiming to work for the private secretary's office. They had detailed knowledge of family schedules and seemed completely legitimate. They said Queen Camilla wanted to coordinate a special surprise for King Charles's birthday celebration. Morrison activated his recording device to capture every detail of Tom's account. Understanding the social engineering techniques used against him would be crucial for preventing similar operations in the future. The caller knew specific details that made me trust them completely, Tom continued. They mentioned conversations between my mother and the king that weren't public knowledge. They knew about Charlotte's academic schedule and her upcoming commitments. Everything seemed authentic and well-coordinated. Morrison's phone buzzed with a text from headquarters. Electronic analysis complete. Transmission equipment in van is military-grade surveillance gear, capable of intercepting royal family communications and broadcasting to external networks. This is confirmed foreign intelligence operation. The detective felt the pieces of a much larger puzzle clicking into place. Foreign intelligence services had successfully penetrated royal family communication networks and were using that access to manipulate family members into compromising situations. Princess Charlotte had been specifically targeted, possibly as a trial run for operations against higher-value royal targets. Sir, Morrison continued, I need to examine the equipment in your van immediately. What you're describing suggests that you were provided with sophisticated surveillance gear disguised as innocent family memorabilia. Tom Parker Bowles looked stricken as he realized the implications. The people who contacted me provided everything: the digital photo frame, the recording device, even specific instructions about timing and location. They said it was all coordinated with palace security, but obviously that was false. Morrison approached the van's rear doors while remaining alert for any additional threats in the surrounding area. The tactical team had reported multiple surveillance positions, which meant hostile actors were still present and monitoring their activities. As Morrison examined the van's contents more carefully, he discovered equipment that confirmed his worst suspicions. Hidden beneath innocent-looking family items were sophisticated electronic devices capable of intercepting communications, recording conversations, and transmitting data to external networks in real time. Mr. Parker Bowles, Morrison said, his voice carrying new urgency, this equipment represents a serious threat to national security. The people who provided it to you were operating a foreign intelligence operation targeting the British royal family. Tom Parker Bowles stepped back from the van, his face pale with shock and realization. Dear God, what have I been involved in? I thought I was helping with a family surprise. I never imagined anything like this. Morrison's earpiece crackled with another update. Morrison, we've detained 2 individuals attempting to leave the area with high-end surveillance equipment, both carrying false identification documents and refusing to cooperate with questioning. This operation is definitely larger than initially assessed. The detective realized that they had uncovered only the operational layer of what was clearly a sophisticated intelligence operation. Foreign services had successfully recruited an unwitting asset within the royal family's extended network, provided him with advanced surveillance equipment, and used him to gain access to one of Britain's most protected locations and individuals. Morrison's phone rang with a call from the Director of Royal Protection. "Inspector, we need immediate debriefing on this incident. Intelligence services are reporting that similar operations may be active against multiple royal family members simultaneously." Morrison felt a chill as he considered the implications. If this operation was part of a coordinated campaign targeting several royals, Princess Charlotte's incident might represent just one element of a much broader intelligence assault against the monarchy itself. "Director," Morrison responded, "we need to assume that all royal family communications have been compromised and that hostile actors have detailed knowledge of schedules, relationships, and security protocols. This was a sophisticated operation designed to test our responses and gather intelligence." Tom Parker Bowles had moved away from the van and was sitting on a nearby stone bench, his head in his hands as he processed the reality of how he had been manipulated. Morrison felt sympathy for the man, who had clearly been used by professionals who understood exactly how to exploit family loyalty and trust. The tactical team leader approached Morrison with additional concerning information. "Sir, we've discovered that the surveillance equipment was accessing royal family communication networks in real time. Hostile actors had live access to text messages, phone calls, and email communications for at least 72 hours. Morrison realized that the security breach was far more extensive than initially apparent. With real-time access to royal communications, hostile actors could have intercepted sensitive information about security arrangements, family relationships, and even state-level discussions involving King Charles and other senior royals. "We need immediate communications lockdown for all royal family members," Morrison commanded. "New secure devices and complete review of all recent communications for evidence of intelligence gathering or manipulation attempts." As Morrison coordinated the expanding security response, he noticed Tom Parker Bowles approaching with obvious distress and determination on his face. "Inspector," Tom said, his voice steady despite his emotional state, "I need to know everything about how they used me. My mother and the king deserve to understand exactly what happened and how to prevent it from occurring again." Morrison appreciated Tom's cooperation and sense of responsibility, but he also recognized that debriefing him thoroughly would require expertise from counterintelligence specialists who understood the specific techniques used by foreign services against high-value targets. "Mr. Parker Bowles," Morrison replied, "you'll be working with specialists who can help reconstruct exactly how this operation was conducted. Your cooperation will be crucial for protecting your family and preventing similar incidents." Morrison's earpiece crackled with an update that made his blood run cold. "Morrison, intelligence analysis suggests this operation was designed to gather information for a potential kidnapping attempt against Princess Charlotte. Electronic intercepts indicate planning for a more serious operation that this incident was meant to support." The detective realized that Princess Charlotte's quick extraction had potentially prevented something far more serious than a surveillance operation. Foreign actors had been gathering detailed intelligence about her movements, relationships, and security protocols in preparation for what could have been an attempt to abduct a future monarch's daughter. Morrison immediately activated emergency protocols that would ensure Princess Charlotte remained under maximum protection until the full scope of the threat could be assessed. He also realized that King Charles, Queen Camilla, and other senior royals needed immediate briefings about the security breach and potential ongoing threats. "Control," Morrison spoke into his radio, "we need immediate threat assessments for all senior royals. This operation indicates sophisticated planning and resources that suggest ongoing hostile activities." The response came back immediately. "Understood, Morrison. Full security review is being initiated. Princess Charlotte will remain under enhanced protection indefinitely." As Morrison surveyed the scene at Highgrove House, he reflected on how quickly an apparently innocent family interaction had revealed a sophisticated intelligence operation targeting the heart of the British monarchy. Tom Parker Bowles's unwitting participation demonstrated how foreign services could exploit family relationships and trust to penetrate even the most secure environments. The van would be subjected to complete forensic analysis to understand exactly what information had been collected and transmitted. The recording equipment, digital devices, and communication gear would provide crucial insights into the technical capabilities and operational methods of the hostile actors involved. Morrison also realized that this incident would require extensive coordination with MI5, foreign intelligence services, and diplomatic channels to understand which hostile actors had conducted the operation and what broader threats they might represent to British national security. Tom Parker Bowles would undergo extensive debriefing to help security services understand exactly how he had been recruited, manipulated, and used. His cooperation would be essential for developing countermeasures against similar social engineering operations in the future. As the tactical team secured the remaining surveillance equipment and evidence, Morrison considered the broader implications of what they had uncovered. Foreign intelligence services had successfully demonstrated their ability to manipulate royal family members, intercept secure communications, and gather detailed intelligence about some of Britain's most protected individuals. The incident also highlighted vulnerabilities in royal protection protocols that would require immediate review and enhancement. Family members like Tom Parker Bowles, while generally trusted and well-intentioned, could be manipulated by sophisticated actors into unwittingly compromising security. Morrison's phone buzzed with a message from Princess Charlotte herself. "Inspector Morrison, thank you for keeping me safe today. I understand now how serious this was. Please ensure that Tom knows this wasn't his fault and that the family appreciates his cooperation in resolving this threat." Morrison smiled slightly at Princess Charlotte's maturity and understanding of the complex situation. Her quick thinking and sharing information about the suspicious text message had been crucial for identifying the operation before it could achieve its ultimate objectives. As Morrison supervised the final evidence collection and site security procedures, he knew that this incident would result in significant changes to royal protection protocols and family security procedures. The threat landscape had evolved to include sophisticated social engineering and communication interception capabilities that required new defensive approaches. The investigation would continue for weeks or months as security services worked to understand the full scope of the operation, identify all participants, and develop countermeasures against similar future threats. Morrison would play a central role in that investigation, using his experience and insights from this incident to help protect the royal family against evolving intelligence threats. Morrison also knew that this incident demonstrated the continuous vigilance required to protect democratic institutions and national symbols against hostile actors who possessed substantial resources and sophisticated operational capabilities. The royal family's security was ultimately connected to broader national security interests that required constant adaptation and improvement. As the last of the surveillance equipment was loaded into secure transport vehicles, and the tactical team completed their site survey, Morrison reflected on how ordinary moments could suddenly reveal extraordinary threats that required immediate professional response and careful long-term analysis to fully understand and counter. Detective Inspector Morrison's training kicked into overdrive as he processed multiple threat indicators simultaneously. Tom Parker Bowles stood with his hands raised, genuine confusion and growing alarm evident on his face, while Princess Charlotte looked between the two men with mounting frustration and concern. The helicopter's rotors created a rhythmic backdrop to the tense scene unfolding in King Charles's beloved garden. "Mr. Parker Bowles, I need you to slowly remove your phone using only your thumb and forefinger," Morrison instructed, his voice steady but carrying unmistakable authority. "Place it on the ground and step back 2 meters." Tom complied carefully, his movements deliberate and non-threatening. The phone clattered onto the stone pathway, its screen lighting up briefly before going dark again. Morrison could see it was a standard iPhone, but in the current environment, even common devices could be modified or compromised by hostile actors. Chen's voice came through his earpiece. "Morrison, I've got the princess secured at the north entrance. Requesting permission to move her inside the house." "Negative," Morrison responded quickly. Unknown electronic signatures in the area mean we can't trust building security systems right now. Maintain current position and prepare for helicopter extraction if necessary. Princess Charlotte's voice carried clearly across the distance. This is absolutely mad. Tom, tell them about the surprise you planned for Granddad's birthday celebration. Morrison felt his stomach drop. Surprise events were security nightmares, especially when they involved unscheduled individuals and unknown equipment. Even well-intentioned surprises could provide cover for hostile operations or create vulnerabilities that enemies could exploit. Mr. Parker Bowles, Morrison said, his tone remaining professional despite his elevated concern. I need you to explain exactly what surprise you're referring to and what it involves. Tom Parker Bowles lowered his hands slightly, his expression shifting from confusion to what appeared to be genuine embarrassment. It's quite innocent, really. Mother asked me to coordinate with Charlotte about presenting the king with a digital collection of family memories for his upcoming birthday. The recording device contains audio messages from various family members, including some of Charlotte's cousins who couldn't attend the celebration in person. Morrison's tactical assessment module was working overtime. Family celebrations were common cover stories for intelligence operations because they provided logical explanations for unusual equipment, unscheduled meetings, and emotional manipulation tactics. However, they could also be exactly what they appeared to be, making threat assessment exceptionally difficult. His earpiece crackled with an urgent update. Morrison, electronic surveillance signatures are intensifying. Someone is definitely recording your conversation, and transmission patterns suggest real-time communication with external parties. Morrison made a rapid decision. Chun, initiate Code Yellow protocols. We're treating this as a potential kidnapping scenario until proven otherwise. Code Yellow meant immediate lockdown procedures, communication with Royal Protection Headquarters, and preparation for emergency extraction. It also meant that Morrison was authorized to use whatever force necessary to protect Princess Charlotte from any perceived threats, including threats from family members who might be operating under coercion or blackmail. Tom, Princess Charlotte called out, her voice now carrying a note of worry. What exactly did Mother ask you to do? This seems much more complicated than you originally described. Tom Parker Bowles ran his hand through his hair, a gesture that could indicate nervousness, frustration, or deception. Honestly, Charlotte, I'm not entirely sure why the officers are so concerned. Mother gave me specific instructions about timing and presentation, but nothing that seemed unusual or problematic. Morrison's instincts screamed warning signals. Specific instructions about timing suggested coordination with external parties, which could indicate either innocent event planning or sophisticated hostile operations. In protection work, the difference between those possibilities could mean life or death for his principal. The helicopter had established a hover pattern above the house, its presence now attracting attention from neighboring properties. Morrison knew that every additional minute of dramatic activity increased the likelihood that media attention would complicate their situation further. Through his binoculars, Morrison conducted a systematic sweep of the property perimeter. The tactical team that command had dispatched was establishing positions, but he still couldn't identify the source of the electronic surveillance signals that their equipment was detecting. Mr. Parker Bowles, Morrison continued, I need you to explain Queen Camilla's specific instructions regarding timing and presentation. Every detail could be important for resolving this situation safely. Tom looked increasingly uncomfortable. She said it was important that Charlotte hear the messages today specifically, before the formal birthday celebration. Something about the emotional impact being greater if Charlotte had time to process the family history before the public event. Morrison felt another alarm bell ring in his mind. Manipulation tactics often relied on emotional preparation and psychological priming. Creating specific emotional states in targets before exposure to additional stimuli was a classic technique used by intelligence services and criminal organizations. His phone buzzed with a text message from Royal Protection Headquarters. Intelligence suggests Princess Charlotte may be a specific target for psychological operation designed to create family discord. Exercise maximum caution regarding emotional manipulation attempts. Morrison's jaw tightened as he processed this information. Psychological operations against royal family members could serve multiple purposes, from simple embarrassment and scandal creation to more serious attempts at destabilizing relationships within the monarchy itself. "Chun," Morrison spoke into his radio, "I need you to ask the princess directly whether she was expecting to meet with Tom Parker Bowles today and whether anyone else knew about this planned interaction." Chen's response came back quickly. "Princess says she had no prior knowledge of Tom's visit. She assumed it was a spontaneous family call while he happened to be in the area." Morrison felt pieces of a disturbing puzzle beginning to align. Unscheduled visits, electronic surveillance, specific timing requirements, and psychological preparation all suggested a coordinated operation targeting Princess Charlotte. Even if Tom Parker Bowles was acting with innocent intentions, he could be an unwitting participant in a larger hostile plan. The detective began moving slowly toward Tom's position while maintaining visual contact with both the man and his distinctive navy blue van. The vehicle's modifications and unusual suspension characteristics bothered him increasingly as he considered various threat scenarios. "Sir, I'm going to need to examine your vehicle as well," Morrison announced. "Standard security protocol requires inspection of all vehicles in proximity to royal family members during elevated threat conditions." Tom Parker Bowles nodded reluctantly. "Of course, officer. The van contains some catering equipment from my restaurant business and some additional family memorabilia that I thought might interest Charlotte. Nothing unusual or concerning." Morrison approached the van carefully, noting that its rear doors were secured with heavy-duty locks that seemed excessive for standard catering equipment. Professional surveillance vehicles often used similar security measures to protect sensitive electronic equipment from casual discovery. As Morrison reached for the van's rear door handles, his earpiece exploded with urgent chatter. All units. All units. Electronic signature analysis indicates active transmission equipment inside that vehicle. Repeat, transmission equipment detected in target vehicle." Morrison's hand moved instinctively to his weapon as he processed this information. Active transmission equipment could serve many purposes, from innocent communication devices to sophisticated surveillance operations or even remote-controlled weapon systems. "Mr. Parker Bowles," Morrison called out, his voice now carrying unmistakable authority and concern, "I need you to explain what electronic equipment is inside your vehicle." Tom Parker Bowles looked genuinely confused and increasingly worried. "Electronic equipment? Just standard things, my phone chargers, maybe a portable speaker for music, the usual items someone carries when traveling. I don't understand what you're suggesting." Morrison realized he was approaching a critical decision point. The intelligence he was receiving suggested genuine security threats, but Tom Parker Bowles appeared to be either an excellent actor or a genuinely innocent family member caught up in circumstances beyond his understanding. Chen's voice came through his earpiece again. "Morrison, the princess is asking to speak with you directly. She says she has information about family communications that might be relevant." "Put her on," Morrison responded, knowing that Princess Charlotte's intelligence and awareness might provide crucial insights into the developing situation. Princess Charlotte's voice came through clearly. "Inspector Morrison, I need to tell you something that might be important. I received a text message this morning from someone claiming to be arranging this meeting on behalf of Queen Camilla. But when I tried to call grandmother directly to confirm, I couldn't reach her." Morrison felt his blood turn cold. Impersonation of royal family members for operational purposes was a sophisticated technique that suggested state-level intelligence capabilities or highly organized criminal enterprises. "Your Highness," Morrison responded. "Do you still have that text message?" "Yes, and there's something else. The message contains specific details about my private schedule that very few people should know. It mentioned my art tutorial this afternoon and my writing lesson tomorrow morning." Morrison's tactical assessment reached critical levels. Access to detailed royal schedules was restricted to a small number of highly vetted individuals, and unauthorized disclosure of such information represented a serious security breach with potential life-threatening implications. "Chun, initiate Code Red protocols immediately," Morrison commanded. "We're treating this as confirmed hostile operation." Code Red meant immediate emergency extraction, full tactical response, and treatment of all unverified individuals as potential threats. Morrison's authorization to use lethal force was now active, and All normal social considerations were suspended in favor of pure protection priorities. The helicopter pilot's voice crackled through Morrison's earpiece. "Ground team, we're ready for immediate extraction. Landing zone is cleared and secured." Morrison began moving quickly toward Princess Charlotte's position while maintaining visual contact with Tom Parker Bowles, who appeared increasingly confused and alarmed by the escalating security response around him. "Tom," Princess Charlotte called out, her voice now carrying real worry. "Did you actually speak with grandmother directly about this visit?" Tom Parker Bowles hesitated before answering, and that hesitation sent warning signals through Morrison's consciousness. "I received instructions through a family communication channel that I assumed was authorized. But, honestly, Charlotte, I'm beginning to think something isn't right about this entire situation." Morrison's earpiece crackled with another urgent update. "Morrison, we've identified the source of electronic transmissions. Someone is broadcasting your location and conversation to external receivers in real time. This is confirmed hostile surveillance." The detective realized that their entire conversation had been monitored and transmitted, which meant that hostile actors now possessed detailed information about royal protection protocols, Princess Charlotte's movements, and security vulnerabilities at Highgrove House. Morrison made his final tactical decision. "Chun, move the princess to immediate helicopter extraction. All other considerations are secondary to getting her clear of this location." As Chun began guiding Princess Charlotte toward the helicopter landing zone, Morrison turned his full attention to Tom Parker Bowles, who stood beside his van with his hands still partially raised, looking like a man who was beginning to understand that he might have been manipulated into participating in something much more serious than a family surprise. "Mr. Parker Bowles," Morrison said, his hand now resting openly on his weapon grip, "I need you to understand that this situation has escalated beyond simple security protocols. We have confirmed hostile surveillance targeting Princess Charlotte, and your involvement needs to be clarified immediately." Tom Parker Bowles nodded grimly. "Officer, I think I've been used. Someone contacted me claiming to represent family interests, but the more I think about it, the more questions I have about their true identity and motives." Morrison felt a mixture of relief and continued concern. If Tom Parker Bowles was indeed an unwitting participant rather than a hostile actor, it suggested sophisticated manipulation techniques that could indicate state-sponsored operations or highly organized criminal enterprises targeting the royal family. The helicopter's rotors grew louder as it prepared for Princess Charlotte's extraction, while Morrison considered his next moves in what had clearly become a complex counterintelligence operation centered around one of Britain's most important future monarchs. Through his earpiece, Morrison heard confirmation that Princess Charlotte was safely aboard the helicopter. But he knew that resolving the broader security implications of this incident would require extensive investigation and careful handling to prevent future similar operations. The morning sun cast long shadows across the grounds of Highgrove House as Detective Inspector James Morrison adjusted his earpiece and scanned the perimeter. 23 years of service with the Metropolitan Police's Protection Command had taught him to notice everything. But this Tuesday felt different. The air carried an unusual tension that made his instincts prickle. Princess Charlotte, now 16 and radiating the confident energy of youth, had requested a private visit to see the organic gardens her grandfather King Charles had lovingly cultivated over decades. What should have been a routine royal engagement had become something far more complex when additional guests arrived unexpectedly. Tom Parker Bowles, Queen Camilla's eldest son from her first marriage, had driven down from London in his distinctive navy blue Mercedes van. The vehicle looked innocent enough, but Morrison's trained eye caught details that others missed. The windows were tinted darker than standard, and the van sat lower on its suspension than it should have, suggesting modifications or additional weight inside. "Control, this is Morrison." He spoke quietly into his collar microphone. "Unscheduled vehicle on the premises. Registration Hotel Charlie 73 Delta, Mike, Quebec." The response crackled in his earpiece immediately. "Morrison, vehicle belongs to Tom Parker Bowles. He's listed as approved family member. Stand down." But something in Morrison's gut refused to settle. His partner, Constable Sarah Chun, approached from the East Wing where she had been coordinating with the household staff. Chun was young but sharp, with an analytical mind that complemented Morrison's intuitive approach perfectly. The princess asked specifically about visiting the greenhouse collection this morning. Chen reported, her voice barely above a whisper. But Tom Parker Bowles wasn't on any visitor list I received. The staff seems surprised he's here too. Morrison nodded grimly. In protection work, surprises were dangerous. Every royal movement was planned weeks in advance, with detailed security assessments and background checks for anyone who might come within 50 meters of their charges. Spontaneous visits from family members, even approved ones, created vulnerabilities that hostile actors could exploit. Through the tall windows of the main house, Morrison watched Princess Charlotte laugh at something her great stepbrother had said. Tom Parker Bowles was 48 years old, a food writer and restaurateur who had generally stayed out of the spotlight that constantly followed the royal family. His mother's marriage to King Charles had thrust him into a complicated position within the extended royal circle, but he had always maintained a respectful distance from official duties and public engagements. Today, however, something felt off about his presence. Morrison's phone buzzed with a text message from his supervisor at Scotland Yard. Elevated threat assessment for all royals this week. Be extra vigilant. New intelligence suggests coordinated activities planned. The detective's jaw tightened. Threat assessments were color-coded from green to red, and they had been operating under amber conditions for the past month. Any elevation meant serious concerns from MI5 and the Counterterrorism Command. Princess Charlotte, as a future monarch's daughter, was always a high-value target, but recent intelligence suggested that extremist groups had been specifically discussing younger royals as symbolic targets. Chen moved closer, sensing his tension. What's the situation? Threat level just increased, Morrison murmured. And we have an unplanned variable in the equation. Through his binoculars, Morrison studied Tom Parker Bowles more carefully. The man appeared relaxed, wearing casual clothes and carrying what looked like a canvas messenger bag. His body language seemed natural as he gestured toward different areas of the garden, apparently explaining various plants and features to Princess Charlotte. But Morrison's experience had taught him that appearances could be deceiving. The detective began a slow circuit of the house, maintaining visual contact with both the princess and Tom Parker Bowles while checking sight lines and potential vulnerabilities. Highgrove House, while beautiful and historically significant, had not been designed with modern security considerations in mind. The extensive gardens provided numerous concealment opportunities, and the multiple buildings and outstructures created complex, overlapping fields of fire for anyone tasked with protection duties. As Morrison rounded the north corner of the house, he spotted two additional figures near the tree line at the far edge of the property. Both wore dark clothing and appeared to be observing the house through binoculars. His hand instinctively moved toward his concealed Glock 17, but he forced himself to remain calm and assess the situation methodically. Chun, I need you to casually move toward the princess and suggest relocating the garden tour indoors, he said through his radio. We may have uninvited observers on the perimeter. Understood. Moving now. Morrison activated his emergency beacon, which would alert the Quick Reaction Force stationed 15 minutes away and notify all relevant agencies that a potential security incident was developing. He also sent a coded text message to the local police unit, requesting immediate but discreet backup for a possible reconnaissance operation. The two figures at the tree line had disappeared, which worried Morrison more than if they had remained visible. Professional surveillance teams rarely allowed themselves to be spotted accidentally, which suggested either poor training or a deliberate attempt to create alarm. Both possibilities presented different types of threats that required careful handling. As Morrison continued his patrol, he noticed Tom Parker Bowles had moved closer to his van and was apparently retrieving something from inside. The distance was too great for Morrison to see clearly what the man was collecting, but his movements seemed purposeful rather than casual. Princess Charlotte remained near the greenhouse, examining some exotic orchids that King Charles had been particularly proud of cultivating. The detective's phone rang softly. Morrison, this is Command. We've received reports of suspicious vehicle movements in your area. Two black SUVs with non-standard license plates were spotted conducting what appeared to be surveillance runs past Highgrove House approximately 30 minutes ago. Local traffic cameras confirmed the vehicles, but registration numbers appear to be false. Morrison felt his pulse quicken. Coordinated surveillance suggested a professional operation, possibly state-sponsored or organized crime-related. Princess Charlotte's protection detail was substantial but not unlimited, and they were operating in a semi-rural environment where backup options were restricted. Copy that, Command. I have eyes on the principal and one unscheduled family member, requesting immediate support and possible extraction protocols. Understood. Helicopter support is being scrambled and should be overhead in 12 minutes. Local tactical team is en route. Through his earpiece, Morrison heard Chen's voice. The princess is asking why we need to go inside. She's becoming suspicious of our suggestions. Morrison quickly weighed his options. Princess Charlotte was intelligent and strong-willed, characteristics that served her well in most situations but could complicate security protocols during genuine emergencies. Forcing her compliance without clear justification might create resistance that would slow any necessary evacuation. As Morrison considered his next move, he saw Tom Parker Bowles walking back toward Princess Charlotte, carrying what appeared to be a large canvas bag. The man's demeanor had shifted subtly, and he moved with more urgency than before. Morrison began moving quickly but quietly toward their position, keeping his hand near his weapon but not yet drawing it. The detective activated his throat microphone again. Chun, I need immediate eyes on Tom Parker Bowles. Something about his behavior pattern has changed. Roger that. I'm moving to intercept. Morrison's phone buzzed with another urgent message. Intelligence update. Tom Parker Bowles may have been approached by hostile actors within the last 72 hours. Unconfirmed reports suggest possible coercion or blackmail scenario. Exercise extreme caution. The detective felt ice form in his stomach. Coercion scenarios were among the most dangerous situations in protection work because they involve trusted individuals who might be forced to act against their normal character and loyalty. Family members had access and trust that external threats could never achieve, making them valuable assets for hostile operations. Morrison began running toward Princess Charlotte's position, no longer concerned about maintaining a discreet profile. Through his binoculars, he could see Tom Parker Bowles reaching into the canvas bag while speaking earnestly to the princess. Her body language suggested confusion and growing concern about whatever conversation they were having. Chun, get between them now, Morrison commanded through his radio. Treat this as a hostile situation until proven otherwise. Moving. Morrison watched as Chun approached from the east while he closed from the west, creating a pincer movement that would allow them to control the situation from multiple angles. Princess Charlotte looked up and saw both officers approaching quickly, and her expression shifted from confusion to alarm. Tom Parker Bowles also noticed the approaching security personnel and stopped reaching into his bag. Instead, he raised his hand slightly and stepped back from Princess Charlotte, which could indicate either innocent compliance or trained awareness of police procedures. Tom, what's happening? Princess Charlotte called out, her voice carrying clearly across the garden space. Morrison was now close enough to see the contents of the canvas bag, which appeared to contain what looked like electronic devices and cables rather than anything immediately threatening. However, his training and the intelligence updates had put him in a state of high alert where any unusual behavior demanded immediate investigation. Mr. Parker Bowles, Morrison called out in a firm but professional tone. I'm going to need you to step away from the princess and keep your hands visible. Tom Parker Bowles looked genuinely surprised and confused. Officer, I'm not sure what you think is happening here, but I was just showing Charlotte some photographs and letters from her grandfather. Family memorabilia that I thought she might enjoy seeing. Morrison maintained his position and his alertness while processing this information. Family memorabilia could indeed explain the electronic devices if they were digital photo frames or recording equipment. However, the timing and circumstances still created an unacceptable risk profile. Sir, I'm sure you understand that we need to verify the situation, Morrison responded. Princess Charlotte, I need you to move toward Constable Chun, please. Princess Charlotte looked between the two men with growing frustration. This is ridiculous. Thomas' family. He's showing me letters that Granddad wrote to his mother years ago. There's nothing dangerous about old family correspondence. Morrison's earpiece crackled. Morrison, helicopter is 2 minutes out, and will be available for immediate extraction if needed. Tactical team is establishing perimeter positions now. The detective found himself in the delicate position of potentially overreacting to an innocent family interaction while also being responsible for the safety of a future monarch's daughter in a clearly elevated threat environment. His training emphasized erring on the side of caution, but his experience warned against creating unnecessary incidents that could damage trust and relationships within the royal family. Shin had positioned herself where she could observe both Tom Parker Bowles and maintain clear sight lines to potential escape routes. Her hand rested casually on her radio, ready to call for immediate backup if the situation escalated. Mr. Parker Bowles, Morrison continued, I'm going to need to examine the contents of that bag before we can continue. It's standard protocol during elevated security situations. Tom Parker Bowles nodded slowly and carefully placed the bag on a nearby stone bench. Of course, officer. I understand you're doing your job. The bag contains some old letters, a digital frame with family photos, and a small recording device that has some audio messages. Nothing more threatening than family history. Morrison approached cautiously and began examining the items systematically. The letters appeared to be genuine historical documents, written in what looked like King Charles's distinctive handwriting from perhaps 20 or 30 years earlier. The digital photo frame contained images of royal family gatherings, garden parties, and informal moments that appeared consistent with legitimate family memorabilia. The recording device was more concerning. It was professional-grade equipment capable of both playing and recording audio, and Morrison couldn't immediately determine what it contained without activating it. In current threat environments, audio devices could potentially contain everything from innocent family messages to sophisticated psychological manipulation tools designed to influence or distress targets. Sir, I'm going to need to have our technical team examine this recording device before it can be activated near the princess, Morrison explained. Princess Charlotte stepped forward with visible frustration. This is getting completely out of hand. Tom, tell them what's on the recording. Tom Parker Bowles looked uncomfortable, but nodded. It contains some voice messages that your grandfather recorded for my mother during their courtship. Private messages that he asked me to share with you as part of your heritage. He thought you might enjoy hearing his thoughts about family and relationships from that period of his life. Morrison felt the situation becoming more complex. If the recordings were genuine, they represented significant historical and personal value for Princess Charlotte. However, in the current threat environment, he couldn't allow any unverified audio to be played near his charge without proper security screening. His earpiece crackled again. Morrison, we're detecting unusual electronic signatures from your location. Possible recording or transmission equipment active in your immediate area. Morrison's blood ran cold. Electronic surveillance detection equipment was indicating that someone was actively recording or transmitting from their immediate vicinity. This changed everything about the threat assessment and suggested that their conversation was being monitored by hostile actors. Everyone needs to move toward the house immediately, Morrison commanded, his hand now resting openly on his weapon. We have confirmed electronic surveillance in the area. Princess Charlotte looked shocked by this development, while Tom Parker Bowles appeared confused and concerned. Morrison began scanning the surrounding area for any obvious sources of electronic equipment while Chin took Princess Charlotte's arm and began guiding her toward the safety of the main house. The helicopter Morrison had requested appeared over the tree line, its presence adding to the dramatic tension of the situation. Morrison knew that its arrival would attract attention from anyone monitoring the property, but it also provided immediate extraction capabilities if the threat level continued to escalate. As they moved toward the house, Morrison noticed Tom Parker Bowles reaching into his jacket pocket. Given the elevated circumstances and confirmed electronic surveillance, this movement triggered all of Morrison's threat assessment protocols. Sir, keep your hands visible, Morrison called out sharply, his hand moving to his weapon grip. Tom Parker Bowles immediately raised his hands, looking genuinely alarmed. I was just reaching for my phone to call my mother and let her know what's happening. She'll be concerned if she hears about this through other channels. Morrison realized that the situation had reached a critical decision point where his actions in the next few minutes could determine whether this incident resolved peacefully or escalated into something much more serious.